Thank you, Chairman Tonko, and welcome Administrator Reagan. I particularly appreciate our conversation yesterday. Look, I think one thing we can all agree to is the world needs to reduce its carbon emissions, and I think we're on the same page here. But the President has repeatedly pledged publicly to decarbonize the power sector by 2035, and some in Congress are trying to upgrade, move that up till 2030. But I want, in this hearing today with him and over his budget, is to look at what will have to happen for a power plant to meet that goal. First, we have to have carbon capture technology must become commercially viable. Secondly, we have to have a new source review program must be reviewed. And thirdly, the United States needs to develop a pipeline system to dispose of this captured carbon. Utility companies have found that it takes 7 to 8 years to get a new source review permit and do all the engineering, design, and permitting to install carbon capture to achieve net zero. So if utilities must comply with the Democrats' goal of 2030, they're going to have to start immediately using today's technology. But it's widely recognized that today's carbon capture technology is not ready for prime time. It's incapable of capturing 80% of our fossil fuel, our carbon emissions. So, but let's just assume that the technology works in the next 12 months. And we can indeed capture 80% of the carbon emitted. The utilities will next need to have a new source review permit approved to upgrade their facilities. Yet the new source review program lacks certainty and predictability. Just think about, when was the last time any of us in Congress heard of a utility getting a new source review permit to make a major modification? They're not. It's not a reliable process. According to GAO, their EPA recently reviewed 831 NSR units that have been approved by the NSR. 467 of them were found to be in violation. And the utility had to go back and redo everything that they had just gotten permission to accomplish. That's not certainty, that's insanity. And it can cost hundreds of millions of dollars to utilities and the consumers as a result of the EPA not following its regulations. So what our utilities need is certainty. That's why the new source review needs to be reformed. If there's nothing in the president's agenda or in this budget that I can see discussing reforms to this program. Rather, it seems the administration is following the same philosophical agenda as President Biden's, which is focusing on regulations. What a novel thing, Chairman, if we focus instead on innovating first, finding out, letting our laboratories, our scientists, and our researchers to come up with a way of carbon capture rather than punishing them. So we could be showing American leadership. Now, let's assume that they can get the carbon technology and they're actually get a permit for it. So now the power plant needs to develop a pipeline system to transport the captured carbon. But Democrats don't have that. They have, unfortunately, an adverse position towards pipelines. So just look at what's happened over the Keystone Pipeline, the Dakota Access Pipeline, the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, the Mountain Valley Pipeline, the Line 5 in Michigan. All of these are showing problems. So why do we think, as we develop this, that the environmentalists are going to let us, let states and the administration approve more pipelines? I don't think they're going to be built, and those pipelines, if they get held up in court, won't be built by 2030. We will have accomplished nothing. So all these things need to come together. We have to develop carbon capture. We have to have reforms to new source review, and we have to build out a system of carbon dioxide pipelines to get the project away. But in the quiet of the night, the EPA and the administration know this can't be achieved. You know that, and the rest of the people on this panel. So why isn't the administration just simply being honest with the American public? This is nothing but a politically driven agenda aimed at ending jobs and the use of coal and natural gas in this country. Coal miners and gas workers all across America will suffer, losing their homes, jobs, and livelihoods, and they'll fall into poverty. I say again, where is the justice in that process? So I yield back, Mr. Chairman.